Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to work on a PC XT. The XT was introduced in 1983. This model came with 10 MB hard drive, 640 KB of RAM, 360 KB floppy drive and a 4.77 MHz CPU, plus a monochrome display adapter and monitor. The computer has a few improvements over the previous model 80, but it wasn't a huge success. This model looks very good in condition, but it's a bit dirty, especially the keyboard. And whether it works or not, I don't know. But the previous owner told me that last time it did work, but that was about 20 years ago, so who knows. I do have a boot disk ready and a few parts, so I hope we can make it work. And let's get to it. So we start with the case. Somebody was using these screws before. We are definitely not going to use them. The case was quite stunk, but applying enough force, finally it gave in, so I could open it. It is fairly dusty everywhere, as you can see. And somebody was living down here and here. So I start by removing the cards first, because these are full-sized cards, so they're blocking access to the floppy disk and the hard drive. Once the cards are out of the way, I can access the screws. As you can see, the disk is quite dusty inside, so I'm very happy I haven't tried to boot the computer from my boot disk, because it would have been scratched for sure. So I'm trying to give everything a good clean, using alcohol for cleaning the head. It's a bit difficult to clean everything without disassembling the whole thing, but I just wasn't brave enough because I didn't want to break it. It's 40 years old plastic. I am using a toothbrush to clean the PCB. I am grounded, so we are making sure we're not building up any static charge here. After cleaning the case and the PCBs and the motherboard, it's time to move on to the keyboard. The keyboard is quite dusty and dirty, and also the pads moved around quite a lot on the bottom of the keyboard, and also they're quite black. We will see whether we can clean them or not. Also, I just wanted to say that this keyboard is really very heavy. From the inside it looks like somebody was lived here. The board seems to be clean, and at first I thought the foam is alright, but then we will see that how wrong I just was. So the foam part started to disintegrate. After you touch it, it actually collapses and it doesn't return. But that's, I guess, is expected. It's not as bad as I thought it will be inside. Sadly, the F7 seems to have lost its spring. So that we need to find some replacement somewhere, because it is, you see, that's not springy anymore. So yeah, let's remove the keys. Under the keys it's fairly dusty, but is not too bad if you consider that it was sitting somewhere probably for 30 years. So F7 is broken, so that's the issue here. You see that has that small notch, but which this doesn't, so that means that this cannot be pushed down. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything suitable replacement for this foam, so I had the choice either to leave it or remove it, but I didn't want to risk anything, so I left it in there. And now trying the keys. Unfortunately, I lost quite a few shots, and I only realized it when it was already too late, so we don't have the video when I was washing the keys, or the motherboard for that matter. Here I made the decision to save the pads and keep them where they are, because removing them would certainly break them, and they are actually quite aligned, so it does make sense to keep them for a few more years. I would have the choice to replace it, but I thought that I'm not. So I'm using alcohol here and trying to remove the residue, and as you can see, the pads are intact. So I'm using window cleaner and also white toothpaste and alcohol. The white toothpaste is great because it has small abrasive particles inside them, so it's great to remove the dust from within the texture of the plastic without actually harming it. You will see I'm using it in lots of other videos as well. I think it works great. I think we can all agree that the keyboard looks much better now. So the monitor, I'm using window cleaner again and toothpaste and alcohol. It seems like somebody did try to remove some dust before, but they didn't really do a good job, and I didn't want to disassemble it unless it is needed, so this will be just an outside clean, although I might return to clean it from the inside, given the fact that it was sitting somewhere for 30 plus years. It is now time to put the computer back together after it's cleaned. Here I'm making a small mistake which caused me quite a few hours of debugging. So you cannot see it from this angle, but it started counting memory. Yeah, so 640, we've got a 601 error, we need to check that. I'll press F1, so now I'm going to see whether we are booting or not. Hey, this is good. We are, in fact, booting into, wow, Microsoft DOS 5. So, I would say that's a great result. I'm not sure what to say. Okay. Alright, so that means we've got a fully functioning PC XT and in a clean version. So let's try to look into DOS. Okay, so the prompt doesn't show where you are, fine, but we are in fact in DOS. Okay, that's what you get for 4.77 megahertz speed. That's actual scrolling speed. So we can try to do one more thing actually, which we haven't tried before, is to put in a disk and see whether the disk drive works, because that hasn't been tested either. Okay, we're in. So now we are going to change to drive A. So far so good. And let's execute a directory on it. Okay. Why we are not... We haven't seen the lights coming on. Okay, so it is probably... Could be the drive dead? Or maybe I missed something. Okay, that could be also the 601 error. Alright, let's try to look into this. So, after lots of fiddling and measuring, and I checked the continuity on the cable and the edge connectors and everything, and all seemed to be fine. I'm not entirely sure whether you can hear this because of the noise, but anyway, so yeah, I found the problem, and it's a silly one. I connected the wrong cable, not the wrong, but the drive B end of the cable to the floppy drive. So that was the 601 error, as well, telling us that there's a floppy controller issue, so it's misconfigured. That the drive is configured as being drive A, but of course the cable was selected on drive B. So that's a silly one, but easy to rectify once you know what you're trying to do. So yeah, I did not, but hey. So now cable is plugged in correctly, so now it's drive 0, aka drive A, and yes, the disk boots correctly, reads the file, and we are back to where we should be. So I might redo this after I put the computer back together, but who knows. Anyway, be back in a minute. And yes, we can talk about this project. Right. So how could I miss that cable issue, right? I mean, back in the days, I was working with similar hardware, and it was obvious which end of the cable is drive A and drive B, and I totally forgot that. That explains it, right? It doesn't give me an excuse, but it is what it is, I guess. So, we still have a few things to do with this computer. Fixing the keyboard, replacing the foam, and also the broken key. And I thought that while I'm waiting for the parts for this one, I also ordered a Hercules graphics card, which we can also replace. So there will be a follow-up video on this one when we work on the keyboard and we test out the computer's capabilities with that. I am thinking about maybe adding a CF card to it. Not sure if that's a good idea or not, but I think it would help me transfer files easier between this and my day-to-day computer. So yeah, with that, I think that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for your time and for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.